How can I help you?
I'm in touch with a private equity investor who's currently acquiring a couple of small in the production area. They need someone to help them to steer the post-merger integration. Of questions that they have are how do we best leverage the different production capacities, and does it make sense to maybe move certain production capacities from one location to another? It's also very international. There's one company involved in Italy, Germany, Tunisia, Hungary, potentially Romania. He assumes that 2 to 3 days per week are travel, and in total they would like to have something like 50% capacity available. So I'd say 4 to 5 days a week, 80%, and he wants someone for at least 6 months, but with a kind of scope of this project with multiple different firms that they are acquiring and that need to be integrated. I think that is quite realistic that this kind of project would last like more than 1 year. And
doesn't seem to be possible to do 2 projects at the same time, given that they require 80%. Right, yeah. So I also would be willing to be on this project 100% of the time. So in Italy or in Germany or in Tunisia, where would it be?
To be honest, I don't know where exactly the companies are.
But anyway, they would require someone to be on site according to the different stages of the project, not with the private equity firm, but with the client that they are.
On site.
So you reached out to me because you saw that my profile can be suitable. What in particular did you think was good about my profile? So maybe I can give you a bit more about my background that can be relevant for this specific project.
Saw that we have some connections, so we are kind of active in a similar environment. So I think that's a good starting point. Also, with your experience from consulting firms, I would assume that you have a good methodological approach. I need someone who speaks Italian, so that's the case with you. That you have some experience with post-merger integrations or like transformation projects.
I'm going to talk to you about the post-merger integration. That is probably the most relevant here. In terms of post-merger integration, my latest 2 years engagement with a company called tango was an interim M&A director. And I have worked both on acquiring 2 different companies.
During your time with Simon Kucher or other consulting firms, were there ever any companies that were active in some sort of physical production or machine building or like anything related to that, or was it always 100% technology and media?
No, in Roland Berger, Simon Kucher worked for a global manufacturer of laptops.
The recruitment process is that do a couple of interviews and see who I assume might be a good fit, and then I suggest maybe 2 or 3, maximum 4 people. And then the private equity investor has a look at their profiles and see with whom of those they want to have an interview, get to know them. And maybe there's a third interview, but that's it basically. I also have a one-pager regarding non-compete.
What does non-compete mean?
Non-compete means that for that specific customer that you don't enter into a direct contract without my involvement. So
not that I cannot have other contracts in the meanwhile, or that
no, you could even have that if you like. It's just that if I put work into this kind of project and make the introduction, then I take some sort of provision there.
Of course.
That's the only point. Yeah.
What would be the day rate on offer?
Yeah, that would be my last question in your direction. So, what day rate would you take for this kind of project, given it's a longer term project?
Longer term, you said initially 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So the
So,
initial
we
contract
have work.
would be for 6 months, and then it can be, extended, or, but the initial contract would be 6 months, correct?
That's my current understanding.
Mm.
Sometimes I see contracts that are put together for whatever 2 to 3 months, and then they get prolonged and prolonged again and again. Yeah, like after an initial 6 months, then it might be sometimes also a little bit less than 100%. So maybe whatever 60% or so. Just given my own experience with those kind of projects, yeah. But
no, I understand, but I need also to reason in terms of what is the initial contract, right? Which is quite. I understand that the scope seems to be very interesting and international, but concretely, the first contract, if I land to that, would be either 3 or 6 months, fundamentally.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I would assume. Yeah.
And all travel expenses would be covered, I assume.
Yes.
And they don't have any budget in mind.
They didn't communicate any budget. I'm involved in many similar projects. They also know the market a little bit. So
they are a private equity firm based in Germany. Well, I worked for other private equity firms on a freelance basis in the UK, fundamentally, charged between pounds. So that would be the range that I would be looking for. Of course, it also depends on the initial contract. If they're able to offer a contract that is already 6 months long instead of 3 months, there could be a margin of negotiation. So I need to see what is the initial concrete offer, right?
And that's the starting point. If it's fine for you, then I would put down as a starting point, and then tell them that it also depends, of course, on the kind of contract and the capacity guarantees that they give, right?
Because from your point of view, how does this day rate compare with other profiles in the industry?
I think that's a good starting point.
On top of this opportunity, would you have anything else? How are you finding the market right now?
It's quite obvious that there's a bit of uncertainty and maybe even recession going on in the overall economy. And I think everything that's going on in the USA and also in Ukraine and also in Israel, etc., that is kind of worrying and leads to hold back of some investments and projects. And at the same time, I still get requests. So it's not like I'm really feeling it yet. Must be people who feel it, but I still get some inflow of new projects.